Hey, hi friends, this is Pastor Coates. I want to welcome you back once again today to Money Talk. We're in our series right now on Money Talk. We're calling it The Truth About Tithing. And today's a really big day because we're going to something brand new here on Money Talk. In the past, we've been talking about tithing from the Old Testament. We laid a pretty good foundation from the Old Testament, the basic idea of tithing, what tithing means, the different people in the Old Testament who tithe, the blessings that are promised to those that do tithe. Today, we're turning our attention to the New Testament. Now, this is very important because so many people will try to say that tithing is not taught in the New Testament. And that's really not true. And so we're going to embark on that today, what we find in the New Testament. And the place to start is from the words of Jesus. So today is the beginning of another mini-series within the series. For the next few weeks, we're going to be asking the question, what did Jesus teach about tithing? So here's the first passage that we're going to look at today. This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." What that means is everything that as a principle is taught in the Old Testament certainly continues into the New Testament. Even though we're on this side of the cross, even though we're living in New Covenant, even though we're in the New Testament, if it's an Old Testament kingdom principle, it is still then obviously a New Testament kingdom principle. Now, does that mean that if we recognize kingdom laws from the Old Testament still apply today, that we're living under the law? Absolutely not. Quickly, but currently in a series on Wednesday nights, we're going through the book of Romans verse by verse. And one of the verses that we've covered is Romans chapter 6, verse 14, which says, "For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace." So we answered the question, what does it mean to be under law? What does it mean to be under grace? What it means to be under the law means that you are attempting by the keeping of rules and laws to maintain or achieve righteousness with God. And of course, we're not under law. That's not our coverage. We're also under grace. That means that all my righteousness comes to me as a free gift from God. So it's absolutely true we're not under law, but we're under grace. And it's absolutely true that we're not keeping the principles of tithing as a legalism, as an attempt to maintain or achieve our righteousness. However, the same kingdom principle that's taught in the Old Testament still applies to today. In fact, Jesus gave this statement in the Sermon on the Mount, which is the manifesto of the kingdom. And what Jesus is making very clear, I did not come to erase the nature and the character of God that's revealed through kingdom laws of the Old Testament. I didn't come to abolish or destroy the law, but I came to fulfill it. I came to make it even more powerful. So if it's kingdom law taught in the Old Testament, then obviously it's still a kingdom law taught in the New Testament. And that's obvious about tithing as well as every other kingdom law in the New Testament. If it was important then, it's also important now. Now, we've got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm going to talk to you in the future about other things that Jesus said, but that verse applies to tithing as well as every other Old Testament principle. So did Jesus teach tithing? Absolutely, because Jesus affirmed everything that's taught then as a kingdom law is still applicable to today. All right, we're going to continue to go on in the future, but we want to bless you today as you faithfully tithe and give to the Lord.